YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we're going to be talking about human pets. Now, this video is based on a question that I got on Tumblr. Somebody was interested in doing pet play, but didn't necessarily want to identify or felt connected to any specific animal, and they were wondering if human pets are a thing, if that's valid, if it's something that people do. And the answer to all those questions is yes, human pets are totally a thing. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what human pets are, how they're different from being an animal type of pet, and then different types of activities that a human pet can do, especially in comparison to the types of activities that are more animal focused. But with all that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first point, number one, is what is a human pet? Now, my standard definition for pet play doesn't really work here. So I'm going to try and define being a human pet this way. Being a human pet is a form of pet play wherein, rather than identifying as any particular animal or adapting the traits of a specific animal, a person acts as a pet in a way where their humanity is removed. Pet play in general, in large, is about somebody taking on the role of an animal and being dehumanized through taking on that role. Now, rather than adapting the behaviors of a different kind of animal, as what would happen in a more animal-focused type of pet play like puppy play or kitten play, it's really just all about having that humanity removed, being depersonalized, being subjugated in a way that a pet might, but not necessarily reflective of any specific type of animal. Like I said, a puppy, a kitten, a fox, a ferret, what have you. Number two, what makes being a human pet different from being an animal-based pet? I kind of touched on this in my first point a little bit, but basically, the big difference between being a human pet and an animal type of pet is mostly going to be in your head, and that it's also going to be more of a performative difference and a difference in aesthetic or outfits. So basically, a human pet can do almost all the things an animal-based pet can do, but just minus ears, tails, and any sort of very pet-like collars. Other than that, you can really do all of the same things, and the difference is mostly going to be in your head. Besides that, I think when it comes to taking on the role of a specific animal, like again, I keep saying this video, like a kitten or a puppy, you were trying to adapt your behaviors to become more like a kitten or a puppy. When you were doing something like being a human pet, I think the focus is even that much more on the dehumanization aspect, about not having all of those normal things that a human might have, like being able to walk on two legs or having full vocalizations or being able to make a lot of basic decisions about things in their lives. So I think they can be very similar in a lot of ways, and I'll get into that more in a second. I think the primary difference is, again, going to be how you perceive yourself and how you perceive what you're doing, and also kind of just how you dress and how you look when you were doing human pet type thing. I think a lot of times as well, with being a human pet, it tends to draw a lot more on MS than it does on like a standard DS relationship, because it's really about taking a human, making them more like a piece of property rather than taking on more of a role play type of form. So in that way, a human pet tends to be a lot more like a slave than, say, a puppy player or a kitten player might resemble a slave. Now, for the third point, what kind of activities can you do as a human pet? You can actually do a lot of very similar things to what you might do as a animal type pet, but you basically just remove all of the animal elements to it. So, for example, very commonly, you will be walking on all fours instead of on two legs. You can do this by using crawler gear. You can just have the pet walk on their hands and knees or on their elbows and their knees. You can do things like bind up their elbows and their legs with bondage tape or with rope. Now, with being a human pet, you may also have situations where you're performing a task. You're allowed to use your thumbs and your hands, which a animal pet may not be able to use. But you can also have that removed being a human pet. For example, you can still wear mitts or have your hands tied up or bound in a way where you don't have access to them, and that's another way you can sort of enhance the depersonalization aspect of it. Another thing that's really common is going to be restricted vocalizations. When you're doing an animal-based type of play. Generally, the lack of vocalizations is going to be not being able to use like a human language, but you're still going to be able to do things like bark, meow, wolf, howl, etc. Whereas human pet play have that vocalization removed sometimes, but it's not really replaced with anything. You're just not allowed to speak. You may be able to, like tap once for yes, tap twice for no, or shake your head, nod your head. You might be able to do like more like basic checking in, not vocalizations, but communication methods, but that don't necessarily involve your mouth. You may also do things like wearing gags or wearing a hood to further restrict your access to your normal faculties. You can also do things like doing tricks, doing things for treats, doing tasks. Again, you can do a lot of the same things that you can do with animals, but they're done in a slightly different way. So, for example, when a human pup is taught how to fetch a newspaper or fetch shoes, they may scamper off and run back with them in their mouth and have that be the scene. Whereas with a human pet, maybe it's more of a service-oriented thing. You have to go and fetch your shoes or fetch the newspaper. Then you have to do it on all fours, but you present it with both your hands instead of having it in your mouth. You can also do things like eat your food off of the floor, have your water in a water dish or from a water bottle. You can also do things like being caged or walking on a leash. Although, again, that's going to be a very different connotation, a very different mental aspect to it than something you would see with an animal type pet play. It's kind of hard to describe how those two things are going to be different, but I think mentally going into it, knowing that like you're still human, you're being put in a cage is going to be a lot different feeling than being and put in a cat carrier, if that sense to anybody. Basically, it's going to be how you go into it, what energy you put into the scene, what energy you have with your dominant, and what kind of things you're going to want to get out of this particular lifestyle and this particular dynamic. But that is basically all I have to say about human pets. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave that down below. I wanted to do kind of a shorter video today because I am prone to doing like 15-20 minute long videos. So I want to try doing something short again because it's been a little while. But if you guys like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe and see more, please feel free to do so down below. You can also find a link to my Patreon in the description box, which is what allows me to make videos like this. So if you want to support this channel, please do consider going to my Patreon. And until next time, have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye.